Clouds. Well, why did I call this talk, what shall we do with clouds? And the question is, what shall we do with clouds? Well, clouds is, and it's the buzzword that describes where IT has significantly changed in the last few years. You know, I'm old enough to have remembered IT when it sat on mainframes. Well, that's quite a long time ago, probably finished around the early 90s. Then IT became something that people did under their desk with a little Unix server. And then it became, ooh, suddenly networked IT, and emails became something that people were so familiar with, and they eventually replaced written memos. And then by the end of the 90s, we're beginning to see the internet. Now, this is only 12 years ago. Just think how much the internet has taken over our world since then. So, middle of the 2000s, what were we looking at then? We were looking at actually the internet was the place where people did their shopping, where they booked their airline flights, where they went for description of what their latest ailment was, find out what it was, where they could get knowledge. So what's so different about 2012? Where have we moved to? The difference is not just people are doing email, but they're using all sorts of other messaging techniques. Not just that people are sat at their desk doing IT things. They're also mobile doing IT things. Not that people are stuck with what we give them as an IT organization. It's using their own equipment to do all of this. So this is something that we spotted about 18 months ago as a big trend in IT. And we wanted to know, so then, what does our parliamentary ICT organisation need to do to fit the pattern, behaviours and requirements of people in Parliament who use IT to do their jobs? And the cloud thing, therefore, became important. And I remember joining Parliament in 2005, and I remember talking about people in the chamber reading electronic documents, and people told me to go away and cool off in a side room while I understood that Parliament was about paper. So I did for a little while, but not for very long. IT was controlled and locked down at the desktop and the laptop. That means that the equipment we give you today from PICT has got so many controls on it that the flexibility and the mobility is impaired. At the last election in May 2010, we were able to bring out the iPhone, the other Android mobile devices, and we were able to give you secure access to limited services like emails, like calendar on those services. But you don't and still can't get on the parliamentary network the full functionality that you need, people need to be mobile. So we've been looking at the trends for 2012 to see what it is we should be doing in IT to promote this mobility and flexibility and choice of equipment that our users, we absolutely understand our users require. And we went to Gartner, who is the worldwide research organization, neutral as to product, but very deep on research. And what they're telling us from all their information is that 50% of access to electronic data will be through a mobile device by 2013, by next year. That means that our strategy of issuing desktops, laptops, all stuck down, properly immobile is not going to last beyond next year. It means that we have to be able to give you mobile access through tablet devices, through mobile phones, because that's where people are going to be accessing the data from. It means when we predict the mobile market that we're looking, according to Gartner, you'd be interested, those of you with BlackBerries here, we're looking at Android, a third, Apple, a third, and perhaps Windows 8, a third. You see BlackBerry is not mentioned. That's the predictions that we're looking at. That's the what we're working towards. That's where our concentration of effort lies. 75% of work devices will be user-owned, we're told. That's a bit controversial, isn't it? Well, we'll see. But their habit in America, the practice in America, is growing for people to bring their own devices to work. And if I look around Parliament and I look at the people who like their MacBooks, their MacBook Airs, and we can't provide that secure access to our parliamentary network, we have to believe that they are already bringing their devices to work because they're getting otherwise a Dell PC or a laptop. And that's not what people want if they've moved and made the choice to buy a different product. So maybe we will see more devices being owned by the user. In fact, if we look at mobile phones, smartphones, we already have this pattern. Already more than 75% of people are using their own mobile phones to connect to work email. So I don't think this is an unexpected or even an unpredictable path for Parliament too. The other prediction that came out of the Gartner research was electronic cash by this year, June, heavens. So that's about having your smartphone, pushing it down instead of money, and it taking the money off your smartphone. Well, that is actually already arrived. It's a technology that exists. So June, time for the Olympics in London, may not be so far off, where you can go into any shop and pay with your smartphone. Maybe. And then this other big one, which is about IT will change every 18 months and plan for a year. This is advice to IT managers. Now, we're looking at a strategy that takes us to 2015. So our planning has to go in detail we can see in 6 months, further planning for another 12 months, and the rest is a sense of direction rather than a detail. We can't do the detail when it gets beyond to the end of 2013 because the world changes so fast. We're looking at application projects delivered in months, not years. We currently have 5 major programs going on, which all are planned over at least 1 year, if not 2 or 3. The future will be about small chunks of activities, do it faster, buy it quicker. So we have to work out in Parliament how we're going to do that. And we're looking at cybercrime, and data management is going to be the focus. These are things we can't ignore. Cybercrime has risen dramatically in the last 5 years. If you see the statistics, it might frighten you. But most people who work on computers know that they are no more dangerous than paper, but they're not as secure as people like to think. So we have to work out how to live with that threat, how to manage that threat. So when we were looking at our ICT strategy, we looked at what are our users doing. If I take you back 700 years to when we started, we were doing paper on vellum. So we were writing on vellum, and you can see our indexes were paper. Quite interesting, metadata on our legislative roles. If you look at a slightly, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, picture of Parliament, you can see in the chamber just how much paper there was. You can see, even when we brought the Youth Parliament in, how much paper there was. But then, in these big spaces of the atrium of Portcullis House here, and in the Royal Gallery up in the north the south end of the estate where the Lords are, that is where we have Wi-Fi, and that is where you see people working electronically with their mobile devices. I often use this phrase, actually we're more like a coffee bar than a desk-based organisation. That's where the business gets done, that's where people are talking, they need their knowledge. So we're working on how we can make Wi-Fi available around the estate. Indeed, by April 2013, we will have every office. Members first, then administration, every office with Wi-Fi enabled. We have just had the business case approved in December, and we are out to tender now to make that purchase so that it will happen. In committees, and you might recognise the people in this committee. In committees, people are still using paper too, but there is one committee where we have already experimented with iPads, and instead of all that paper around the table, you will see when I last went to the administration, I counted 6 pieces of paper and then one big stack. And the one big stack was with a new member of the committee who hadn't been given an iPad to trial yet. But the people who had been engaged in the trial were not using paper. They were actually using the electronic paper to do their committee business. It is. They do find it more efficient. It does make savings. We have a glorious picture of the ancient, and we have a picture of the modern. This is the people in Parliament and the people outside Parliament who want to talk to us. We talk about digital engagement with the population of Britain. We actually get evidence that people do want to talk to us. It's about how we make that more productive for everyone, not just for us, where it's inconvenient to get through the barriers of people, but also it's more meaningful for people who want to make a point to politicians. How do we do that? So where our conclusions reached us when we were writing the ICT strategy is that we need to use electronic data, not paper. That's a change from 2005. We need to be on the move, not stuck in one place. That's a change from our current position. We need to be always connected to calendar and the internet. Also the intranet. We don't do that yet, but that's what people say we want. They want. People want their own choice of mobile device. They want their own applications to be able to use, as well as corporate data. They want, actually, really, that bottom one is the thing that people keep telling us. They want it to work, please, anytime, anywhere, all the time, everywhere. So we are looking at cloud technology as a solution to all those requirements. We're looking at cloud technology where we can put our services into a free space, accessible from any internet space, any internet connection, and put instead of the security around the prison of our network as it is at the minute, rather put it around the data. This makes it more mobile. It allows people to be able to get to the data from wherever they were, not just from the estate, not just from their desk. It also improves the choice of PC or laptop or tablet or mobile device. You get more access to more data from whatever device you're using, and I put the disclaimer in, as long as that device is modern and can work with modern standards. So our aims are to improve the access to the data. We know we need a better network to do this. We have a plan to put in a better network in the trunk with more capacity, but also Wi-Fi by next year. The capacity probably won't come till about 2017. It's a big task to rewire the whole of the parliamentary estate. The good side of all of this is we will save money by doing this. It will be more services for less money. And we're part of the savings programme as well. So we've experimented in mobile devices. We've had members using iPads. We've had people using electronic paper instead of printing. We have shown that makes savings. We have tried a private cloud. We are now looking at a more public cloud, but our private cloud has also made savings and made services more sustainable. They don't break down as often as they used to. We are also looking at software as a service, which is where you just go and buy some software. This is how we're going to decrease the length of time it just takes to do stuff in IT. So what next? Well, there's this big chart of work that we have to get through, which says it will be safe to move into the cloud. And the things that we're significantly, you see down that left-hand column, that will take us up until April 2013 to do all those colour blocks. What we're checking is things like we know where the data is. We know how to push it in and out of places. We know how to secure it. We know how security works. We know that people have access to what they need. We know that we can create the kind of environment safely and securely and get the data back if we want to change the service, and we are buying services to do that from more than one source of IT provider. So that's a very big change plan that we have to create over this next 12 months. That April the 13th date is significant because that's when we expect to start delivering these new services. Not only will we have the Wi-Fi, we have the capacity then to put email services into the cloud, probably starting with members, followed by the administration. At that point, people begin to have the choice to have their own device and to be able to be truly mobile and get access to most of the services they require. So we're following this route because it suits what our users require, which is mobility, device independence, flexible, and not forgetting the bottom one, it costs less. And we're using the public cloud, and we're looking at the government cloud because they have a framework of services that have already been tested for security compliance. We now just have to work out the things about data. There are some big decisions to make in this next 12 months. We are a Microsoft establishment. We use Microsoft extensively. The big question is, should we stick with Microsoft? Should we look at things like Google? Should there be something altogether different that we use? These are big questions we've got to ask and answer in the next 12 months. But we're not just doing it in IT, we're doing it with users. So watch out for the next set of events that we'll be holding, probably somewhere late autumn through to winter, just to show you what the options are and to get views back and engage with us. We've got a user group called Sun. We've got a Sunny user group which represents every department and also members. And in that user group, we'll be testing in detail some of the options that we'll be looking at in order to get to these decisions. And we have two big problems to solve over the next 12 months. One is that one of data, to be sure we can find it, own it, get it back if we need to. Keep it safe. The security one is the second big issue. And this is not a if it's a great idea activity, this is a when we will do it. And the aim and objective and all the force of PICT is working to that April 2013 date to get us to a point where we can begin this great freedom in the use of IT. And that's it.
Thank you very much.